After a long 6-year wait, Bong Joon-ho's new film, Mickey 17, is finally out, and personally, I loved it. I would love to spend the next few minutes gushing over how brilliant it is and how much Robert Pattinson deserves Oscar nominations or whatever, but unfortunately, there's another issue that is going on right now that I need to speak about. It's been bothering me for a little while, and last night after attending an early screening of Opus, I feel like I finally have to get it off my chest. Opus is the directorial debut of Mark Anthony Green, and it follows Ariel, a young writer who's invited to a unique listening party from musician Moretti, who has been on a hiatus for 30 years. It's a horror thriller, and personally, I just about hated every second of it. Ayo Edebiri gives a great performance for what she has to work with, and that's maybe just about all the praise I can give it. This is such a boring screenplay that offers absolutely nothing new to anything. It's shot okay. It is edited quite awfully. It has some really bad ADR, and John Malkovich, an actor that I have admired for such a long time, is really giving maybe one of the most humiliating performances I've seen in, well, the entire year, although it is only March. And the issue doesn't stem with just Opus. This stems with a bunch of these films that have come out recently that are trying to be a social commentary on stuff, whilst trying to present themselves in a unique vision with their psychological horror presentation and their poorly written social commentary. This is an issue that stemmed for quite a while, I guess. The film that you can blame for starting this is Get Out. That is a movie that I think does it in a great way, but it started somewhat of a trend, whether it's to do with a cult, whether it's a screenplay that's trying to sound significantly smarter than it actually is, trying to trick the audience into thinking that it has anything real to say at all, when in reality it's revolving the same arguments over and over again. Capitalism is bad. Our culture with celebrities is bad. Our culture evolving through podcasts and celebrity culture and influencers is not good. I get it, and it just doesn't work for me at all. There's a wide range of these films that you could put into this category, and just about all of them try and do the exact same thing, some of them doing it significantly better than others. A fair majority of them do it in the worst ways possible. Let me just break down some of them over the past few years. And this isn't just me that thinks this. If you look at the top review for Opus on Letterboxd right now, it's basically someone mocking this exact point. The review being from Josh that says, "Oh hey, it's Blink Twice. I mean The Menu. I mean Midsommar. I mean Don't Worry Darling. I mean Get Out. I mean, what's the fucking point anymore?" Get Out has a social commentary on racism in society and revolving issues around that. It's a good example of this, and I won't put too much blame on it considering it was kind of the first of its time. Not the first of all time, but it's definitely the cause of this trend. You look at Blink Twice that came out last year with Channing Tatum that speaks on tech bros and the culture around that and how people can trick you into being your friend when in reality they're taking advantage of you. It's also a very raw film that showcases the entirety of these issues that can revolve around sexual assault. This is another example of how this can be done well. Although that movie doesn't stick the landing, it's still a better example than Opus. And then you have the ones that do this in the worst type of way. And by that I mean, they think that they're significantly more intelligent than they actually are. This goes for films like The Menu and Don't Worry Darling. The Menu is so pandering and stupid on criticism culture and restaurant culture, stuff like that. It really has nothing to say, and it has maybe one of the most embarrassing endings I've ever seen. It's stupid to also blame these movies for ripping off something like Midsommar. That is a prime example of a film that I genuinely do feel like it just is borrowing an ending from that. Same goes for Don't Worry Darling. It's just talking about incel culture. I'm really glad to execute that message you decided to hire arguably one of the most attractive men in music right now as your incel. Oh, how do we make him look creepy? Let's just give him long hair and a bit of a beard and, I don't know, stick him on 4chan or something. I mentioned that The Menu feels like it's borrowing and ripping off Midsommar, and that is also a thing that I don't really have an issue with. Opus is entirely guilty of all of these issues as well. It follows into these traps trying to criticize celebrity culture and how we look up to artists, and some people will do just about anything that they say. I'm not saying that's not true. Look at examples of Kanye right now. I'm not saying every single one of his fans has devolved into racist idiots, but there's definitely a small few that will defend some of the stupid stuff he does. But the way that the film is presenting itself is as if every single person in the world is doing this, and there's a small minority that don't. I'm interested in celebrity culture, but I'm not interested in every single thing that they do, and I'm not going to defend them to the end of the earth. And I'm sure a majority of people are like that as well. Whilst criticizing the fact that this is genuinely one of the most poorly written scripts I've ever seen. It is also important to mention a company that seems to encourage this sort of stuff. Whilst writing the script for this video, I actually did think about criticizing A24 for this type of thing. A distribution company that people seem to hold on to with stuff like A24 vibes, as if they treat A24 as if it's a singular person that is creating all of these things. They are primarily a distribution company. They don't make a lot of the products that they put out, they mostly just stick them out there. And I mean, look at The Brutalist and Zone of Interest, they didn't even do a really good job at that either, so. And even then, they're kind of branching out to do more stuff. You look at how people view that company now, and how they think that they have a specific palette that they put out. It's not true. They've been putting out tons of trash for endless years, although a fair majority of their movies are pretty good that they distribute. You know, look at what they're doing now. They're edging more into higher budget stuff. In a couple years time, people are going to be reminiscing about this time because they're just going to be another movie studio that people aren't going to look up to. Same can be said for Neon. They'll probably go in that direction too. I'm getting off track, but what I'm trying to say is, I feel like someone actually has to approach these writers and directors before their films are released and actually ask them, are you saying anything new? Does this have any substance to anything you actually want to say? Or is this something we've seen a million times before that's doing the bare minimum? Society bad, capitalism bad. I guess my final thoughts for this are, instead of making these films that revolve around the same issues and are just repeating the same points, but as time goes on getting dumber and dumber at doing it, just saying that society is bad and clapping and patting yourself on the back and thinking you've done a good job, why not actually put more effort into these scripts and stories and actually, you know, try and get some sort of interesting message across from it? You keep pointing out that society is bad, why not highlight something in your film that can improve on that? Opus is a great example of that. Ayo Edebiri's character goes against everything that John Malkovich's character wants her to do. Or does she? I don't know. The ending's really stupid. All I can say is, Opus is a colossal waste of time. This theme in cinema right now is really boring and it needs to move on. These films specifically, I've had enough of them, I don't want to see any more of them, and I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that. The only thing I can really say is, go and see Mickey 17 this week. It's fun, Robert Pattinson's great. Does it have an interesting message to it? Not really, it's as subtle as a brick. But did I have fun? Yes. Also, congratulations to Tony Hale. Get that bag. He had like maybe 50 seconds of screen time in this movie. He probably got like a lot of money for it, so cool I guess. This industry sucks.